Hi, I'm Jason from StrataGames, and today we're playing some more Pauper. This is Gruul Ramp, or Gruul Monsters. The point of the deck is to ramp into your giant threats really quickly. So we have Arbor Elves, Utopia Sprawls, and Wild Growths to help us ramp into those creatures. Malevolent Rumble helps find them. Ramp Through is pretty much our only piece of removal in the deck. We're mostly just creatures and ramp. Some Repurposers, ramp, and also as a 3/3 body. Same with Jewel Thief. We are also playing Evolution Witness as a bit of a combo with Bannerhide Crew Shock. You can reinforce the Crew Shock onto the Witness and then pick back up the Crew Shock. So for every 2 mana you have, you can just add 2 counters to the Witness, making it really big. Then we have Writhing Chrysalis, of course, is an insane card. Avenging Hunter to take the initiative. Nyxborn Hydra to put all of that mana into. And a couple Oliphants in this list in order to give Trample, because some of our big creatures don't have Trample. Writhing Chrysalis being one, but especially the Witness, we can make it as big as we want, but without the Oliphant, it doesn't have Trample. So this list is a little different from the stock list. We're not running any Cascade, and we're not running any Generous Ents. That's because we want the Oliphants for the Trample. Because of that, we're running a couple extra Mountains. And also, I like a little bit of removal in the deck, so we're running 2 Ram Throughs as well. For our sideboard, we have Ancient Grudges and Deglammers for any artifact matchups. A full playset of Breath Weapons for mono red, mono white, or any other go wide deck. Vines of Vastwood is good against removal decks or against Broodscale. Weather the Storms against burn decks, and a Shinin' of Life's Roar. I assume this is also good against go wide decks because all creatures able to block this creature or the creature that you channel this onto have to block it. So if your opponent is White Weenie and they have 7 creatures on the board, this basically makes it so that everything but one creature is unblockable. So let's take the deck for a spin. On the play here, 1 land, but we have 2 Utopia Sprawls. So we can turn 1 Utopia Sprawl. Turn 2, we can Rumble. I think we're going to keep this one. It's a little risky, but I think it might be okay. Start with the Utopia Sprawl on red. Maybe should have started with the green one since we have another way to make red. And we might end up playing like a Utopia Sprawl and a Malevolent Rumble in the same turn. We get a Wild Growth, or if we wanted to Wild Growth and Utopia Sprawl. Yeah, that would have been better, because I probably would do that, but I guess we just have to Rumble instead, so a bit of a mistake. We didn't hit a land. Pretty annoying. That was definitely my bad. Next turn we have 3 mana, but only 1 green. Yeah, that was quite the problem. We can Jewel Thief, I guess, and then next turn we can play the Jewel Thief and Wild Growth, or Utopia Sprawl, for a little bit more. I guess we're going to try that. I think a land is pretty unfortunate, but that was definitely just a mistake I shouldn't have made, that I wouldn't make if I knew the deck a little better. Forced to be great here, though. Nope. All right, we're going to go for the Jewel Thief and Wild Growth. They have a Cleansing Wildfire. Well, that's pretty bad. I guess there wasn't really a reason to put the Wild Growth on right there because we had the treasure. So we are just misplaying all over the place. Arbor Elf. I mean, they missed their land drop. So we're not in a great spot, but we're okay. I guess we play Arbor Elf here. If it doesn't die, we Utopia Sprawl next turn, and then we can hold up a Ram Through. Have another Wildfire, this time on themselves. They're not Jund. I guess they discarded a Counterspell, so I should have expected that. Looks like Grixis. They also had to discard at end of turn, but they discarded a Snacker, so not really wasted value. I guess we just Sprawl this and decide if we want green or red this time. I think we are going red. If we find a Chrysalis, we can play it. Right now, all we have is 2 mana, so I guess we just attack. Our opponent is stumbling a little bit, so if we had played correctly, I think we would have just crushed them. Then again, they still had the Wildfire, which would have gotten 2 of our Utopia Sprawls, but we still would have had the turn 3. We would have had the faster Jewel Thief and some other stuff. They play a Wellspring and a Refurbished. We discard a... I don't think we need both Ram Throughs. Then again, if they play another Refurbished here, which it kind of looks like it, we could Ram Through them both. Right now, we're not playing Repurposer. Yeah, let's get rid of a Ram Through. They do have the second Familiar. We get rid of probably playing a Bannerhide, unless they attack. Unless they double block, then we are going to Ram Through. Let's get rid of the Bannerhide, because if we play the Repurposer, we can play the Avenging Hunter the next turn. We also get a Nyxborn Hydra. That's +2 we could throw on the Jewel Thief. I think we're just swinging with the Jewel Thief. They go for the double block, so we're going to Ram Through. Hit for an extra 2, then trample over, keep our guy alive. I could play a 1/1 Nyxborn, but that doesn't seem necessary. They have a Murmuring Mystic. Not great. Wild Growth. So that gives us an extra mana. Wild Growth this. Arbor Elf, untap. I guess we only have 4 still, so we can Nyxborn this for 5. They have snow lands, so they might be playing Screds, but they can't kill this right now. So if we buff it up, we might actually be decent, in a decent spot. Attack for 5. They gotta have removal. I guess we're doing that. Nyxborn for 2. Feels a little weird. Put them to 4. They have another familiar. I think we're just getting rid of the repurposer and playing the Avenging Hunter. Like, they can kind of take the initiative, but it's a big guy, and if we get to trap them, we're just gonna win. They probably have a counterspell here, though. They might also have like a cast down. They're gonna Deadly Dispute right now. This is an interesting deck. It's like Grixis Control with a Wildfire Deadly Dispute package. They only have 1 mana left. 2 birds. Oh, they are snackering. That's why they did it now, I guess. And then the cast down. Okay. Making sure they don't get killed. We have 7 mana, so actually we can Banner Hide, scavenge onto this. It makes it a 6/7. So they have to either lose their Mystic or lose all 3 of these guys. I think that's worth it. So we'll attack. If they just have a cast down for this next turn, it's not great. They are going for the triple block. Down to 1. We've already used both ram throughs, unfortunately, so that's not an out. They have the cast down. Swing for 2. Looks like they get counterspell up as well. I'm not really sure what we do to get out of this. Another forest. Well, I guess we're casting an Avenging Hunter and hoping it doesn't get countered, even though it most certainly will. They have a Wellspring and another Mystic. I don't suppose there's any way we can get 1 damage through here. Not really. They're swinging with the whole team. We do get a Hydra, but best we can do is 3 counters on this. Either that or it's not attacking this turn. Yeah, I guess we just go full in. We get 6 counters on it, and then we don't attack. Because 3 doesn't matter. We can't get through either way. So we have a 7/7 tapped with Trample. They leave back both their Mystics, and they probably just can block. Cycle a Landscape. Another Snacker. 1 card left in hand. I mean, if we draw... No, we're 2 mana away from being able to Banner Hide from the grave. Pass with everything up. We get a Forest. So yeah, I could Banner Hide, but I had to tap my Elf for it. That would make it 11/11, because right now they have enough damage, if they put everything on it, that I can only kill a Mystic and like 2 birds or Snackers. So I think we take another turn off, since they didn't attack us last turn, and we Banner Hide this, and then go for it next turn. Seems they didn't have the removal, or maybe they're holding up a cast down, but this way we can attack in, not lose anything. They play another bridge, so 1 card in hand. They're not quite dead, but they're going to have to lose both their Mystics and a Forest. We'll swing. They go straight to blocks, block with everything. I think we're taking out both Mystics and a Bird Illusion, since the Snackers can come back. All right. Ooh, they ran out of gas. Otherwise, this was going to be death for us. If they get a cast down or something, or especially like Deadly Disputes into cast downs, they could still win by holding us off long enough or just killing both of these. They top deck another Mystic, but clearly didn't have a spell last turn. Yep, just an island. All right. Somehow, through all our misplays, we're going to be able to take this game, which is good, because this looks like kind of a tough matchup. We do get all of our Deglammers and Ancient Grudges if we want. Obviously, they don't hit bridges, but they do hit Refurbished Familiars and Ichor Wellsprings, but that's kind of it. So I think we're leaving those out. Definitely want the ram throughs for the Mystics. They have a lot of flyers, but if we're able to get an initiative early, I think we're going to be okay. Nyxborn's pretty good, and I do think the Trample from Oliphant is good. The Witness is a lot more late game, and we don't really want to be late game. We want to be more aggressive, so maybe we take out the Witnesses, and because of that, a couple of the Banner Hides. Is 4 Deglammer too much? Seeing as they're not like an actual affinity deck, maybe we only need a couple of these. Let's do 3 and leave 1 of the Banner Hides. Pretty sure if you have nothing till turn 3 and then only 3 drops, it's not a keepable hand. This one's not great either, but it's better. I guess we'll keep this, hope for a 3 drop, so that we can play that on turn 2. Start with a Wild Growth. We do get a Chrysalis, which is okay if we get a Utopia Sprawl. Not great otherwise. They don't have a Wildfire. We get a Banner Hide. I mean, we could play that next turn, but I don't think playing a 2/3 Hydra is relevant here. Sack their landscape. They have a Snacker, and no 3rd land, unfortunate. Ooh, and we get the Mountain, so we can either Chrysalis or Banner Hide. If I Chrysalis, that secures our Avenging Hunter a little bit more, but Banner Hide is more aggressive, and Avenging Hunter is going to be really aggressive because this tramples. So actually, I think we'll go for Trample, just because they can chump the Chrysalis pretty easily and then get this guy back. They're swinging for 2. And then disputing the Snacker comes right back, looking for that land. They don't find it. Unlucky. Another Hydra. Yeah, we're just slamming with the Crew Shock and playing the Hunter. They don't have mana to counter the Hunter unless they're playing like Force Spike. So it's likely to hit, and then even if they take the initiative, it's going to be pretty aggressive here. Hard for them to come back from this. Get our Forest and pass. This does give them a basic, I guess, so maybe it's not the right play, because this actually opens them up. So that actually might have been silly. Maybe I should have just gone with the Chrysalis, kept them on 2 mana. Yeah, that's totally a possibility. They did get a Swamp, so if they have like Snuff Outs for both of these, we'll actually be in a pretty bad spot. They have the Dispute for the Snacker again, and a Refurbished Familiar. I think we're just getting rid of this Forest. I know it makes the Nyxborns worse, but 3 counters on these is still pretty reasonable. And I think I'd like to have both of them. They do have Counterspell mana up here. No, just another Familiar. Well, now we're getting rid of a Hydra. Yeah. Because next turn we're going to Chrysalis, and the following turn probably Hydra. If they double block a Trampler here, first of all, they have to be worried about Ram Through because they saw it before. They are just going for it, though. But this also means our Chrysalis can maybe block the Snacker. So we hit him down to 9, and we're definitely going to Forge, because that trap is half their life total, more than. And then we'll play a Chrysalis, and just pass back to them. They have a Mystic, but that's all their mana. They could have a Snuff Out. I would not be surprised. Deciding if they want to use it on the Chrysalis now, and they do. So they can take the initiative and then buff up their Mystic so that it can block. Not bad seeing as the position they're in, but our Hydra's going to make it so we can trample over. And once we get the trap back, we're probably just going to win, unless if they have another Snuff Out. Rumble. So I can Hydra on the Crew Shock, but if they have a Snuff Out, they go to 1. I could also Hydra on like a Spawn. If they kill that, though, they can still block here, but I guess we are left with a Crew Shock. So if we Nyxborn Hydra for 2 on a Spawn, then they have to snuff it out. No, because they can just snuff out the Crew Shock and then block, eat the Spawn. So that's just the same. So I think we're just going for a big Hydra. It just needs to be big enough. It needs to be... Wait, let's undo this, because can I just play this Chrysalis out and then play Nyxborn for 3, which is enough to get past these? Yeah, so we should do that first, so that we also have a Chrysalis down. That's relatively good size. Bestow. We only need it to be 3 because it only needs to hit for 1. Because 1 means we get the trap. So let's swing. If they have the Snuff Out, they're still alive at 1. And despite all our mistakes, especially in game 1, we were able to get match 1. Round 2 here, we have another 1-lander. We're not going to make the same mistake, though. If we're against a Wildfire deck, we're pretty hosed, but otherwise we have a ton of mana here, so I think we're going to keep it. I think we just lead with the Wild Growth. That way we don't even have to choose red or green for these sprawls. Well, it's Wild Growth. Island from them. Get a Chrysalis. That's not bad. I think we're just going double Utopia Sprawl. They might Spell Pierce one of these. I'm going to choose red in case they Spell Pierce the second one, I guess. And then just green for that one. And going to hope they don't untap and have land destruction, I guess. I'm going to guess Mono Blue Fae. Although, no 1-drop is tough. Ooh, blue-black. Dimir Fae. Modern Age. Yeah, looks like it could be Dimir Control, Dimir Fae. Snacker in the bin. That is a fairy. That's a win in my book. Avenging Hunter. Man, if we had a land for that right now, that'd be so good. As is, I think we just slam a Chrysalis. And then next turn, since we got the spawn from this, we can play Chrysalis and a Repurposer. They discard a Suffocating Fumes. Another Modern Age. That gets back their Snacker. They pitch a Thorn of the Black Rose. They have a Bog for a turn. We get another Chrysalis. I think we're just playing those as quickly as we can. We're going to sack 1 spawn so that we can get down both a Repurposer and a Chrysalis this turn. And then I guess I could go for a Rumble and maybe find a land. But I think we're just going as aggressive as possible. Attack for 5 here. See if they have a Snuff Out. No, that's pretty good for us. Since we just have all these aggro creatures. They could have some cast downs, but... And they have this Snacker as a pretty decent blocker. Flip a Vector Glider. They have an Aquifer and an Extract a Confession. I mean, basically a cast down. Oh, a cast down that grows our other Chrysalis. That's pretty hilarious. So you took our 1/5/6 and we get another one. Utopia Sprawl. Okay, so we can play another Chrysalis. And we have 4 mana. We could go for a Rumble. I could just play a hunter here, seeing as they're probably gonna... I guess they're probably gonna double block the repurposer. I think we just keep going with chrysalises, to be honest. Let's get another one down. Like, this is oppressive. And now let's rumble. Makes another spawn. You can get an Arbor Elf or a Mountain. Arbor Elf doesn't really do much. I guess Mountain doesn't either. We lose both our ram throughs, which is kind of annoying. What does a Mountain do for us? I guess Arbor Elf is better, because if we get like a Nyxborn Hydra, we're going to want as much mana as possible. So we'll take that. And I think we'll swing with both. If they want to trade this for the repurposer, they'll have to take 7 for it, and that's going to make our trap from the Avenging Hunter in a couple turns pretty good. Yeah, instead they're just going to chump the Chrysalis, so 3 damage in that case that we get for kind of free. Next turn we can play our whole hand if we want. I don't hate that. Although we have to play the Avenging Hunter pre-combat if we want all the counters from the spawn, which means they'll know about it. They have an Augur here, see if they get anything good. Snuff Out or Cast Down's probably their best draws, seeing as they don't have Counterspell mana up at the moment. Although they could have an Island. They get a Brainstorm, okay. They got a Pass. They do have 5 damage here. Nyxborn Hydra, okay. So I could play that now without them having Counterspell mana up, and we can play it for 5. That's pretty good. I could wait until next turn when I would have Arbor Elf and make it even bigger, but then they might have Counterspell mana. I don't really want to Avenging Hunter. They're missing land drops, and they have flyers. I mean, it's not bad. If I Nyxborn this and they have the Cast Down, I guess it doesn't do too much this turn, and this is only 5. So actually, seeing as they have Cast Down mana, I think we probably do go for the Hunter. We're going to sack some of these spawn. We're going to sack all these spawn. Play an Avenging Hunter. See if they have anything for that. They don't, so we get a Forest. Play that out. Utopia Sprawl. I guess I should have gone on this one, because they probably don't have any interaction for it, and we can buff it up bigger. I just wanted to diversify because of Wildfire, but obviously this deck doesn't have Wildfire, so why would I do that? Let's go for another red and play an Arbor Elf. Swing with our guys. If they want to double block this repurposer, they'll have to let one of these 3 through, these 2 other guys through, unless they have the Cast Down, which we assume they do. Agony Warp, okay. Yeah, I guess playing the Arbor Elf before falls into this. That's not a big deal. So they'll probably chump the 10 damage, kill the repurposer, and take 6. Okay. We do get a spawn out of it. And if they want the initiative, they're going to have to attack with one of their creatures, losing a blocker. If not, we just get to buff the Hunter. They're going to cast that Brainstorm, get back a Snacker. And they concede. So yeah, did not have any removal or anything in their 4 cards. We're able to get there with just a million Chrysalises. Who knew that card was good? I think our only sideboard is a Vines of Vastwood. That just helps against removal. Or maybe we could put in the Shinin, because they have a lot of cheap blockers, Augurs, Vector Gliders, and Sneaky Snackers. And so this would be a way to make it so that all of their guys have to go on one guy. I'm not sure Evolution Witness is great in this match either, just because if we do the combo, without Trample gets chumped pretty easily, and then they can extract a Confession to kill it. They can, when it's small, Agony Warp it, and then of course they can just cast it down or chump it. So I think maybe we cut those this match. Still don't hate Ram through. Maybe cut 1 Hunter because they have so many flyers. Okay, this hand is interesting. They probably can kill a turn 1 Arbor Elf, and if they can, we have nothing until we get to a Hunter, and if they kill that, we just lose. I don't think this one's gonna work. I think we got a mulligan. It looks enticing, but I'm just not confident. This one's better for sure. And with 2 Sprawls / Wild Growths, I think we can get rid of a Forest. They start on an Aquifer. We get a Ram through. That's just Wild Growth. Would love to get a 3-drop off the top here. Just another Forest. I guess we just Utopia Sprawl onto this. They have a Brainstorm in response. Seeing if they can find an Annul, maybe? I'm not sure. I guess a Spell Pierce would keep us from playing anything else. Seeing as we don't have anything else great to play, I'm okay with that. They want to go for it. They cycle a Lorien. So let's choose red. And question is, do I just want to play this Shinin? I can then reinforce it, so if they start playing guys, I can just make them die. But that's also like all of our creatures. So I probably just want to play the Bannerhide next turn and then maybe use this eventually on it. I also have a Ram through for removal though. I guess we're just going to play it. It opens our options a little bit, and if they don't have a creature for a couple turns, it's just a little bit more damage. They float 2 mana, play an Aqueduct, and then, yeah, Modern Age, so they can discard the island if they want to, and they do. Vines isn't a terrible draw. That lets us play our Bannerhide and have protection for it. So we'll swing for 1 and do just that. They loot away a Lorien. Okay. Play an Augur. No reveal. That's usually how our Augurs go as well. Repurposer. Okay. It's not going great, and they clearly have a lot of value in hand, discarding a Lorien here, but it might be okay. They have an Agony Warp to shrink the Crew Shock so that they can trade with it. So I could Vines in response, but oh, they said wrong order. They wanted to kill the Shinin and then shrink the Crew Shock. I assume they wanted to kill the Crew Shock here, but I guess they did it the wrong way. But if they block here, then I can Vines. I could just ram through in either way. Oh, they still have to block this is the problem. Gotcha. Yeah, so since they didn't kill the Shinin, they still have to block it. And they can't even kill it because it's got 2 toughness. So now they snuff out the Shinin and to try to block the Crew Shock. But if I Vines here and buff it, they have to block and chump. I think that's probably worth it then. Or I could just ram through, but then we still lose Shinin. This way we maybe save both our guys. Let's do that. Kicked Vines. Let's see if they have another snuff out. They don't. Oh, it got -3 though, so it's actually not going to kill it. -3 power. Well, now we did the wrong thing. We didn't need to kick that, which means we could have left up a ram through. Oh well. It's fine. We kept our guy alive. We hit him for 4. We get a repurposer. They spent 2 cards for our 1, so still pretty decent for us. But them doing something, them making a misplay made us make a misplay. They get their Vector Glider, and our misplay was quite a bit less bad than theirs, to be fair. Ours was basically just spending an extra mana so that we can't have Ramp Through up in case we need it, but honestly, we probably will save it for our turn. We get a Nyxborn Hydra. I mean, that's kind of cool. We could put that on the Shinin, make it a 5/6, and then they have to block stuff with it. They definitely have a counterspell up. We do have 6 drops, so maybe I don't need to spend this spawn, but I just make it +3. That'll survive and still kill one of their guys. It only kills 1 either way. So let's try that. They have a counterspell or a removal spell. This isn't really going to do much, but force them to use it on this as opposed to one of our bigger guys. They do have a snuff out, and they cast it for the alternative cost, leaving up mana. 3, 4, still pretty reasonably sized. I guess we're swinging with these 2, seeing what they have. Maybe a cast down. Double block the repurposer, but no cast down. All right, we're taking the Vector Glider. They're down to 3. We get a spawn, and we have a ram through, so we're in a good spot here. They have another Modern Age. That doesn't do too much. It's a swamp. They play another Augur. They find a snuff out, but they don't have the life to pay for it. Currently, their board keeps them alive, but we do have the ram through, so we're going to be able to get there, it looks like. We get a forest. We're going to ram through one of these Augurs and attack for lethal. Nice. 2-0 so far. Round 3 here. Slow hand. We do have the Wild Growth, but otherwise we have nothing till turn 5 unless we're playing like a 3/4 Hydra and an Oliphant cycles for a land. Then we get stuff going. Why not? Let's give this one a try. It'll be an easy top deck of Jewel Thief. Play a Growth. They're on 6 cards. And cycle a Troll. Looks like Dredge, probably. We just get a Swamp. We have 3 mana. I guess we play a Forest and pass. And if they go for an Exhume, we can cycle the Oliphant in response. They have a Circle of the Land Druid. Well, that's not Exhume. They've been Satyr Wayfinder, Blanchwood, and another Troll. 4-drop. Just a Forest. Okay, so do we play the Nyxborn Hydra here for 3 before we play the Hunter and then the Oliphant? That's a really pretty reasonable curve. I think so. Obviously, we could just save the Nyxborn for after that. Oh, actually, we're playing it for 3 since it's not bestowing. It's fine. It's not amazing. They just play a Bog and pass. We get another Hydra. That definitely reinforces my decision from last turn because we get 3 damage attacking for these like 3 in between turns, and we still have a Hydra afterwards. I mean, this is not a fast start because we're not playing something till turn 4, but once we get these creatures rolling, it's going to not give them a ton of time. They didn't have another 2-drop. They're going to throw the circle to get this Conduit Pylons back. Okay, fair enough. Could also have a Dread return this next turn. But we're playing an Avenging Hunter. Going pretty fast now. Tutor a Forest. The next turn we get Oliphant, then we get a Nyxborn for +5. They'll probably be dead by then if they don't have Gnaw to the Bone or have killed us. They cycle a Troll as well, so they have a Swamp and a Conduit Pylons in hand. And they cycle a Generous Ant. Okay. That leads me to believe they probably do have the Gnaw to the Bone in hand. Just because, obviously I know you want to cycle these, but like, that's 3 lands in hand. That's kind of more than they usually would want. Unless they're just going for the fast, lots of creature in the graveyard. Which is fair, because we are hitting them for 10 this next turn. They start with the Pylons. Leave it on top. Gotta be good then. They play a Stinkweed Imp. Okay. So I think we buff the Nyxborn, since they have Death Touch on one of our guys. Let's spread out the damage here. And a Malevolent Rumble. So we attack, we hit them for 8. They trade for one of our guys, but we get an Oliphant out. And the next turn we Hydra. Yeah, they still need the Gnaw to the Bone pretty badly. This does put Stinkweed in their graveyard. Helps them find the Gnaw to the Bone. Not my favorite, but unless we're going to one-shot them, what else are we going to do? Trade for the Hydra, seeing it's the 5/6 and has reach at this point. It is the better one. All right, let's play this Oliphant. Definitely a deck where we prefer an Oliphant over a Generous Ant. The life isn't that relevant, the reach isn't that relevant, and the trample is insanely relevant. They don't dredge the Stinkweed Imp. That's interesting. They have an Exhume. Okay. Yeah, I guess we get the Hydra back, which is not nothing, but it's pretty close. And they get back a Troll, probably. Maybe an Ent. I guess Ent blocks better. Also gains them some life. Yep, they go for the Ent. Got another Exhume. Just a Stinkweed. Okay. So I think we're still good here, because we get to trap them for 5. They're down to 5. And then another Hydra. Yeah, so Oliphant's already making this 7, so it'll get past this, or at least trade with it, and then we can buff this one up. Or we could buff up this Hydra. They have to block here. This tramples over for... Or I guess, do we already have them dead? Because they could block this, put this here. No, not quite. Yeah, actually, we do. Because Oliphant, they have to block. And then this can buff the Hydra for 2. So this Hydra actually is relevant. And then they block here. Yeah, so we already have them, but let's just bestow this Hydra with another Hydra. Swing for the fences. And everything's got trample. Boom. All right, we don't have any graveyard hate, which is pretty unfortunate. We do have breath weapons. I guess Shinnin isn't terrible because they could have a lot of blockers. And if we don't have our tramplers, that helps. Ram through similarly is good. Again, the Witness just feels like... I really want to do this combo, but it feels like it's not great in the matchups we keep going against. Because it's just another big guy that's going to get chumped really easily. So maybe we do this and put in like 1 breath weapon so that we can take out a bunch of their blockers if we need. We could bring in Vines, but it doesn't really seem to do much. I don't know if they're going to have any removal to bring in. Probably not. +4 could be decent. No lands here. First no-lander, we're definitely mulliganing. Another no-lander, well, down to 5. This one's not great. No 1-drops at all is rough, but we got to keep it. Put back a Ram through, and the Hydra. Just got to try to go off this Avenging Hunter. We could put back a Forest. Is that too greedy? Ideally, this Malevolent Rumble will find us a 3-drop, but if it doesn't, it'll probably find us a Forest. So actually, maybe we get rid of Ram through Forest. Top deck, a Wild Growth or Utopia Sprawl would be pretty good. Arbor Elf? Hey, I'll take that. They start with a Mountain, which is their tertiary color. Some of these decks don't even play a basic Mountain, so that's interesting. Probably cycle. If they go for the Exhume now, we're not going to have the Oliphant cycle to get them, so that would be an unfortunate start. Not a single 2-drop, and we get another Arbor Elf. Okay. So I can Rumble and Arbor Elf here. I think we do that. Jewel Thief or a Wild Growth or a Forest. We got to take the Wild Growth, right, with 2 Arbor Elves. I think that's definitely the play. Untap this, play out the other Arbor Elf. Next turn we can play Wild Growth, which is like a ritual. Cycle another Troll. And another Troll. They have a Scrapwork Mutt. And they bin a Dread Return. So no Stinkweed Imp. We get to slam a Hunter this turn, so this is pretty good. Wild Growth here. 2, 2, 2. Play a Hunter. I think we grab a Mountain since we don't have any red sources in case we get Chrysalises. They cycle a Generous Ant. We can play a Mountain, and we have 2 mana left. I could reinforce right here, but that doesn't seem necessary. Unless I reinforce, and then next turn I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Plus Forge, so that's 7 from a Hydra, 7 from this, so it's 14, and then Forge makes it a 16 power attacker. I mean, that's pretty good, and then Trap finishes them off next turn. If they have any removal, we're kind of dead, but this is the deck that doesn't play removal, right? I guess we're going to reinforce this and see how that goes. We can also scavenge it the following turn. And in case they do have a Gnaw to the Bone, we're going to want as much damage as quickly as possible. Another Scrapwork. They have the Stinkweed this time. They find Acorn Harvest, Blanchwood Generous, Dread Return, so no Gnaw to the Bone. Another Scrapwork, okay. And they can Dread Return this if they want. Bin the Stinkweed. Find an Ulamog's Crusher. Okay. I'm not sure this deck is playing Lotleth Giant. I think they might be going Crushers, and other hasty boys. Well, we haven't seen a Dragon Breath either, so I don't know about haste, but that's my guess. So they can get an Ulamog's Crusher if they want right now. And they do. That's honestly not that scary. We're about to have like a 16 power attacker. Another Avenging Hunter. Well, we're just gonna buff this guy up a bunch. I guess we'll leave this spawn to sacrifice to the Ulamogs. So this will just be plus 6, so 15 damage. I think that's still enough. Spawn could also be a chump blocker if we don't want to sack it. So attack for 15. That still makes it so Trap is lethal next turn. They have to have lifelink, life gain, or they're going to chump, which I think is fine too. Ulamog's Crusher pales in comparison to this Avenging Hunter, which is absolutely monstrous. They dredge another Ulamog's and Dread Return. Play their Mire and unearth a Scrapwork Mutt. Dig 5 deeper with the Dredge. Oliphant, there are their Exhumes. There's a Gnaw to the Bone, but they played a tapped Haunted Mire. I don't know if they have an untapped land, but if they do, they messed up, I think. I'm not sure if they really have a way to deal with this anyway, but they do have 15 creatures in their graveyard, so that would be 30 life off the Gnaw to the Bone. They Exhume. It's going to give them a Crusher. We're going to get a Bannerhide. Between Trap, our enormous creature, and our other smaller creatures, we're still going to be able to get there, though. Put them to 8. Forests. Let's just swing. This is 7 and then 4, so that'll be lethal. Alright, we got a reasonable one here. Chrysalis, currently uncastable, but we have turn 1 Wild Growth and then a Rumble to help find either a mountain or something else. So we're going to keep this one. Another Chrysalis is a little awkward, but let's just go for the Wild Growth and see what next turn holds. I think probably the most common start out of any opponent is a Drossforge Bridge with 8 damage marked on it? What? I don't understand. Alright, looks like Grixis Affinity. Does this Mistfall Bridge have... It also has 8 damage marked on it. What about this Forest? It also has... Okay, everything has 8 damage, it looks like. Alright, let's Rumble. Forests and a Jewel Thief. So I can already have a Forest to play this turn, but then we just have a bunch of creatures, so I think we do just want a Forest. This lets us play Avenging Hunter next turn if we want. And then that'll find us our red for Chrysalis. So we're just going to get a Forest. Pass. Even this spawn has 8 damage. I don't know how it's still surviving. They Thoughtcast for 2 mana. What a show of weakness. That's pretty embarrassing. We get the Mountain. That's interesting, because we can slam the Hunter here, and I think that's pretty good, because then we have so many blockers to follow it up with. But it lets us play the Chrysalis and then have it grow from the spawn. I think we're just going for the Hunter, but a bit of an interesting choice there. We're going to get our other Mountain, just in case we want to play both Chrysalises in the same turn. They have a Galv Blast. A little annoying, but fair enough. Another 2-mana Thoughtcast. Oof. They are digging for that land. And they have a Refurb. We discard a Forest. Initiative. Well, we can't Forge unless we want to grow their creature, so I guess we're going to Lost Well. Which isn't bad either. Oh, I mean, we want to get rid of those Forests, so I'll take that. Draw an Oliphant. We're just playing the blocker that blocks the familiar. We're leaving up a Forest so that if they have, say, a Galvanic Blast in response to us sacking a spawn, we can reinforce the Chrysalis, keep it alive. They just have a cast down. We can't do anything about that. But we could reinforce one of our spawn and then attack with it. That's interesting. They have a Wellspring. They're going to swing with the Refurb. I assume they go for a Galv Blast in response to blocks here, so I have to sack my spawn. And then the Bannerhide gets them. Well, we're just going to let this happen. Now Galv Blast? Yeah, so we can sack these to keep it alive by reinforcing. So now we have a 6/7 that doesn't die. That's pretty good for us. I could stash here. I think that's fine. I kind of like the draw from the archives, but stash seems okay here. We get a Rumble. Let's cast another Chrysalis and then Rumble. Yeah. Grow the current Chrysalis. Rumble for... Ooh, Utopia Sprawls or just a Purposer. I think we're just going to take the Repurposer. I wouldn't have hated a land there. Oh, actually, I can just cast this right now. Yeah, let's just do that. Keep growing Chrysalises, hit for a crazy amount of damage. A land there would have let me play the Bannerhide, but I can just play this guy out, attack for 9. That shows how busted this card is. Hey, look, it can actually survive the 8 damage. They tried to more than 2-for-1 themselves by throwing a Refurbished and a Galvanic at the Chrysalis, and if that happened, I still would have had 2 spawn left over, and I couldn't even let them do that. I had the way to make it so that they threw 2 creatures away, and I did lose 1 card with the Bannerhide, but I also came out on top with a 6-7. Crazy. They go for a Deadly Dispute on the Wellspring, draw a bunch of cards, finally find that 4th land. If they are playing main deck Krark Clan Shaman Toxin, they could definitely still get us here. They're just passing, though. Looks like they could have a cast down, maybe. They're going to cleanup, though. Discard 2 cards. 2 artifacts. I guess we get a 4-1 from the Undercity. Nyxborn Hydra. Can we make sure we deal them lethal even if they kill this? Because we have 8 damage here. I can put a Nyxborn Hydra on this guy for 3 extra. Plus we have the Chrysalis, so I can actually do it for 2 extra and then also have the Bannerhide if they have like a Galv Blast as well. So let's do that. Sack this. Bestow for +2. That makes any 2 of these creatures lethal. And then the Bannerhide is a backup for... I guess I could just put this on here in case they have the Galv Blast, which they do. We're going to reinforce in response. And we get there. Nice. All right, Affinity. That's what we have these 6 artifact hate spells for. So I think with all those, we probably don't need Ram Throughs. They have so many sack effects and removal that Ram Through's not going to be amazing anyway. This is one Revolution Witness. Might not be terrible, and I do want to try it out. Obviously, it still gets Galv Blasted, but if they don't have that right away, we could like double Bannerhide it. So what do we take out instead if we want to leave those? They don't have as many chump blockers, so Oliphants might not be super necessary. Like they have Mere Enforcers, which aren't even really chump blockers most of the time. They have Refurbished Familiars, and then Krark. I guess maybe we need Vines of Vastwood for their Krark, so that it can't gain Death Touch or Ram Through for their Krark. So we'll take out the Oliphants. I like the Bannerhides. Those did really well. Take out an Avenging and like a Jewel Thief. Just try it like that. And looks alright. Finally, the turn 2 3-drop, which I feel like we've kept missing, even though we've had pretty good games otherwise. And then from there, we can play an Avenging Hunter, potentially. They start with a Great Furnace. Hey, if we get an Ancient Grudge, that's going to be pretty good. I guess we just start with a Wild Growth, since we drew that. And a Seat of the Synod. Ancient Grudge, please. I guess maybe we should have Utopia Sprawled in case we draw the Ancient Grudge. Something to keep in mind. Forest. We do just get to Utopia Sprawl or red, and then play a Jewel Thief. Have the Galv Blast. That's fine. And no follow-up. Okay. That's pretty good for us. Let's Wild Growth this and just play an Avenging Hunter since they don't have any creatures and aren't looking to get them anytime soon. We'll grab a Mountain. We could have a Galv Blast for this, but initiative going, 2 Repurposers is backup. Seems okay. They did find the Vault of Whispers. Still pining for that Ancient Grudge. They have a Dispute, but no creatures. Go to cleanup. Discard a Reckoner's Bargain. Well, if they have the Galv Blast, they get us, but we're going to go for the Forge. And they don't, so we get to swing for 7. Nice. And yeah, I guess this could be a little overextending because if they have Krark Clan Toxin, they're going to be able to wipe our board, but if they just have 1 removal spell, they'll be able to kill this, so we're just going to throw out some Repurposers. They got to have something. Found a bridge, have a Blowgun. Hey, do they have the Krark? They do. Fair enough. That's Death Touch to the board. We're going to drain them for 5. We get a Chrysalis. That's a pretty good follow-up. Let's swing with the board. Make him use something. Oh, right. This only has Death Touch on their turn. They should have done it on their turn. Well, they can sacrifice... They can't even kill this. Yeah, I think this is dead now. I haven't played the Blowgun myself. I know people have talked about which one's better. And in general, I think Toxin is better, and this is a reason why. But if you're going to play the Blowgun, that's fine. Just make sure you read it. During your turn, it has Death Touch. So they should have done it on their turn. We're against the big boss Carves, and this hand looks way too slow. I think we're going to have to ship it. We get a Rumble. I guess that's a turn 3 Crew Shock, so it's not nothing. I guess turn 3 Crew Shock and turn 4 Crew Shock if we get another land. Ugh, not great, but I guess we'll try. Ideally, we top deck a Wild Growth or an Arbor Elf. We draw the Utopia Sprawl. They're on Delver. Not sure exactly who's favored in this match. We have the Mountain, so we're going to put Sprawl on green. They don't flip their Delver. They do cycle a Lorien after checking for an island. Clearly didn't see something they wanted to draw. Play an island, swing for 1. We have a Jewel Thief off the top. That's pretty nice. That doesn't get spell pierced and starts applying pressure quicker. Let's just do that. Could get Force Spiked, I suppose, if that's what they're playing. They Brainstorm in response. That's going to flip their Delver with an Echoing Truth. Okay. Mental Noted away, though. Also been a Sleep of the Dead. Play an island, swing for 3. Get a Forest. We're going to attack for 3. I think we're going to Rumble and then play a Crew Shock. Crew Shock probably gets countered, so I'd like to have something else happen this turn, and Rumble at least helps find something. And if they counter the Rumble, that's fine. In fact, I'll probably just ram through this Aberration, but I'm not really expecting that. We find a Chrysalis, so let's take that. If we play that right now, it probably gets countered. So I could just play the Crew Shock instead, because that's more aggressive. It kind of, if they only have one counterspell, it kind of forces them to leave it for the Chrysalis. Let's try that. They let it go. Brainstorm into a Thought Scour, away 2 islands. They go for a Terror, swing for 3. We get an Evolution Witness. Interesting. Because I want to play the Chrysalis and swing with both, and if they block, I can Banner Hide. They have a bounce spell, that's fine, but the Chrysalis probably gets countered here. Does. Swing with our guys. I would assume no blocks or a block on the Jewel Thief, so that they'll at least trade, because they're going to expect the Crew Shock, I would bet. Yep, on the Jewel Thief. Let's reinforce. Go for the trade. They're going to Sleep of the Dead the Crew Shock. Okay. Slows our aggression, but uses most of their mana, so they have a counterspell up. If I play an Evolution Witness, that'll probably eat a counterspell, and then I can ram through the Aberration. If it doesn't, it's actually pretty good for us. So let's go for the Witness. They are going to counter, so I'm going to ram through on the Aberration and pass. So now they don't have an attacker unless they got one in hand. They do have the Sleep of the Dead to hold us off for a while, but we do have this guy who's eventually not going to be tired. I should have played this Forest so that if we draw another one, I can scavenge our Bannerhead from the graveyard on our spawn. That was a bit of a mistake. A Deep Analysis and then play a Delver. Get another Crew Shock. I could just Crew Shock up this Crew Shock from the grave for 8 damage here, but I'd rather just play another one, have 2 attackers next turn. And if we get that extra land, we can even have 3 4-power attackers. They also can't really use this Deep Analysis from the grave because that'll put them on a... that'll make any of these Crew Shocks lethal. Brainstorm in response to the Delver to make sure it flips off a Thought Scour. Still in upkeep, Thought Scour themselves. Been the Thought Scour and a Spell Pierce. They have a Ponder. Need to find another Terror or something here. I guess if they just have a land, they can still sleep one of these guys. If they play a Terror or a Cryptic Serpent, I'll probably just have to Banner Hide from grave, scavenge onto one of our current Crew Shocks, so it tramples. But they play another Delver and a Terror. Okay. Swing for 3. A land would have won it there, because they could only block... No, because the spawn they can chump. Never mind, it wouldn't have won it, but would have been good. Jewel Thief. So if we scavenge from the grave onto this Crew Shock, that's 8 damage. If they block it with just the Delver, they'll die. So they have to block it with the Terror, which means they'll be taking 3 trample from that, and then they have the Crew Shock they also have to block. So, yeah. This is what we do. It makes them lose both their creatures here. They do still have their Delver, which is a 3-turn clock. So they could potentially double sleep our guys next turn, but then we have a Jewel Thief and we're not quite dead. And that uses their whole turn, plus they have to find an island for it. So they go to 1. They're definitely going to have to sleep this, even if they have another Terror. They cast a Mental Note and concede. All right, we were able to get there. Do we have anything against them? I mean, Vines is fine. Shinin. Vines makes it so that they can't bounce or tap our guys. Also, the buff is pretty relevant against their Terrors because most of our guys are smaller than their Terrors. Shinin is pretty decent. If they have 2 or 3 blockers, it can make it so that they have to block like a spawn if they don't have a bounce spell for it. So I think that one definitely comes in. Ram through doesn't do much. too expensive against a Terror. Cryptic Serpent's okay if we have a 5-power creature. And it is our only way to get rid of a Delver, though, other than just reach creatures. The Evolution Witness is not bad. It kind of forces them to have a counterspell for it. The Avenging Hunter feels worse, because if they kind of just... It does trade for a Terror, but they can either just counter it, or they can maybe, with a Delver, take control of it. So maybe we just get rid of 3 of those. I'm not sure that's right. Oliphant helps us trample over a Delver, and also just adds power to make it so that we trade with a Terror, so I think that's okay. Let's try it like that. Not exactly sure if that's the right sideboard here. Oh my gosh. We have all the mana in the world, but if we're going to draw threats really slowly and they can just counter them, then we're going to lose, so I don't think this is a keepable hand. This one's much better. Have the turn 1 Utopia Sprawl, or maybe Arbor Elf. Probably Arbor Elf. Yeah, we'll keep this one. I think we're getting rid of the Vines, because I don't want to get rid of one of our only 2 threats. We're leading with the Arbor Elf either way. If they have a bounce spell for it, kind of annoying, but their bounce spells are probably going to be 2 mana, so that takes their whole turn 2. No Delver. This also makes it so that it doesn't get spell pierced. If they have a Force Spike, so be it. Nice. Cycle Alorian. They Sleep of the Dead, the Arbor Elf. Okay, that's kind of cool. You get another Utopia Sprawl. That's not bad, especially if one of these eats a counterspell. Let's go for Utopia Sprawl for green, and then we can Malevolent Rumble. I guess we'll just want red then, and then let's Rumble. We get another Arbor Elf or lands. I think we don't need more lands, so I think we'll just take the Arbor Elf. I mean, like, I would take more lands, but since we already have this Utopia Sprawl, another Utopia Sprawl, an Arbor Elf that probably is going to untap next turn, I think we'll just go really hard into the Arbor Elves. I guess they had an Echoing Truth in their main deck, and so bouncing both Arbor Elves with that could be pretty good for them. They Brainstorm. Then Mental Note, Echoing Truth, and Thought Scour. So that's 6 spells. They can start casting Terrors, which is pretty bad, honestly. Don't have any way to deal with them, and we could play 1 Bannerhide and then reinforce with the other. That's about it. They do have a Terror. No 3rd land, though, is kind of good for us. Writhing Chrysalis is pretty decent as well. Okay, I guess we start with the Utopia Sprawl on this for green. So we have 6, 7 mana. Untap. Play out our Chrysalis. Play an Arbor Elf. And I can play a Bannerhide. It doesn't do too much. I don't know if I want to sack all these spawn yet to this, because they make good jump blockers. I guess they're not attacking in with this turn anyway, because it's going to be a 5/6 unless they have another tap spell or something. And they're missing land, so actually we want to go fast. Yeah, I guess we are going to play out an Arbor Elf and just sack all of these to play a Bannerhide. I guess we want to do that while they don't have counterspell mana up anyway. They Ponder, play an island. So they found that. Forest. So I can attack with the Bannerhide as well as the Chrysalis, and then they can reinforce. But then if they have a bounce spell, it's not great. I could just reinforce now, and then I could also scavenge onto something, because this is what? 7, 8 mana? I guess we'd have to tap the Arbor Elf, because I want to scavenge onto an Arbor Elf. So I guess we're going to swing with both of these. And yeah, we'll scavenge. We'll reinforce, onto this. If they have the bounce spell, it's not the end of the world, and then we can just replay this. And next turn we can scavenge onto an Arbor Elf and start attacking with everything. They block, we will reinforce, and that gets through. So we actually deal them 6, and I guess we might as well scavenge this turn, right? So untap this. Like, they didn't have the bounce spell, otherwise I think they would have used it. And this gets around counterspell. 7, scavenge onto an Arbor Elf. Diversify our threats. Hey, they concede. We got there with a trophy on our first playthrough of Gruul Monsters. That was a 5-0, 10-0 first playthrough of Gruul Monsters. That felt pretty good. The deck was really strong, honestly really fun. We never got to Evolution Witness Bannerhide Crew Shock, so that was a little bit on the disappointing side, but maybe I'll have to play this deck a little bit more. It was pretty fun. I was expecting it to be not the most enjoyable. I think the stock list that I've seen a lot of times, with before Bannerhide especially, with no ram throughs, the Evolution Witness adds a little bit. It was just so linear, like play creatures, and if they have anything, you kind of just lose. But I like that you now have combat tricks with the Bannerhide, you have removal with the Ram through, and then the Evolution Witness I think could be pretty cool as well. So overall, I like this list a lot, and might have to keep trying it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.